You've been asking, and here it is. SwarfWorks' new V2 third brake light with integrated Starlink mount. So man, it's been a real crazy couple of months. For those of you who didn't know, we had a ye ol' hurricane come through our area, and it looked like it was going to be kind of serious. So we all threw up our storm shutters, and the damn HOA was getting mad at me at the end. So I had to rush, hurry up, get the shutters taken down, and lo and behold, I fell from the top of a 20-foot extension ladder and broke both my legs. So that was fun. And I actually was non-weight bearing and in a boot when I picked up the truck when we decided to get another Raptor and start doing this stuff. So once I came out of that non-weight bearing restriction, man, we were full throttle trying to get this truck ready for the things that we wanted to do. We got the third brake light and the Starlink installed the night before our 30-hour drive out to Colorado. Spent 2 weeks out in Vail, Breckenridge, playing some hockey with some buddies. I wasn't doing much hockey playing, unfortunately. And then just shooting some content to have something to put out. Then we jetted on home, and we had a week to get the bed spare tire installed, the UHF radio installed, a bunch of the Molly panels installed. So we were ready to hit the Reach the Beach event with the Off Road Revolution, which was an absolute killer time, dude. Those guys are a class acts group of people. And now we're getting ready for our summer full of events with the Florida Raptor runs and some other things that we're trying to work on, which will be fun and exciting. So sorry for the delay on the video, but here we are. First, I wanted to give a huge shout out to my bros over at Off Road Alliance. Man, Cody hooked me up to get me one of the early run of these things. I'll explain later why I wanted one so badly. But those guys are just an amazing group of people, and I appreciate y'all for hooking me up. All right, so we're gonna touch on why I wanted this so bad, and then we're gonna get into a little bit about how the video's formatted, and then we're gonna get to the install. I know if I was watching it by this point, I would be like, "Shut up! Fast forward! Fast forward! Fast forward!" Anyways, so I will never go off-roading without Starlink ever again. Uh, Out a couple years ago, out in Moab, I snapped a tie rod with my 9-month-old and my 4-year-old and my wife at about midnight, and we had a hike about a mile and a half up 1,000 feet of elevation to get cell service to call the sheriffs to come and get us, and that sucked. Being from the East Coast, over the horizon communication is not that big of a problem because you're never too far from cell service, but it's a whole new game out west, and I learned that the hard way. So back with the older generation Starlinks, before the Mini came out, there was a whole bunch of work you had to do in order to get them mobile. And there are some incredible companies out there who made mounting solutions for them. High Speed Mounts is fantastic. I love those guys. If I was looking for strictly an external Starlink mount, that's 100% without a doubt I would be running. And those for you who have the newer Minis, they still make great mounts for that as well. But when the Mini came out, I saw how easily portable it was with the lower power requirements and all of the router and modem internally mounted. I was like, man, if we could just find a way, or someone could find a way, somebody, not me, if somebody could just find a way to integrate that with the third brake light, I was like, that would be pretty freaking slick. Have it hardwired, it's kind of permanently installed in the vehicle, and it would just be super clean. So I'm getting ready to go order my new third brake light from a different company, and lo and behold, I hop on the old Instagram, and there's Cody saying, "Hey, check this out. Who wants one?" And I was like, "Yo, hook me up. I want one of this. This is cool as hell." So that's why I wanted it. I think it's kind of outside the box thinking. No one's really doing that. So I was really excited to get my hands on it. All right, so how the video's formatted, and then we'll get to the actual install. So originally, I didn't want to do an install video, right? There's plenty of information out there about how to do these. They all use the same LVJ harness, or most of them use. You should be using LVJ harness if there's people who make non-LVJ harnesses out there. Sorry. Anyways, I didn't want to make a full how-to video. I really just wanted to cover the intricacies of this one, how it kind of varies from other third brake lights out there. But it turned into a how-to video in essence. So I struggled with what I was going to put out, how much of it I was going to put out, and I was like, you know what, F it. Let's just put the whole thing out there. Watch what you want to watch. Criticize what you want to criticize. It is what it is, right? I do things a certain way. I've done a lot of these throughout like the 10 Raptors that I've owned. Um, some things personally work for me. Some things just is how my stupid brain works. So, all right. So let's go ahead and roll into the install, and you'll see things didn't go perfect. We had some issues along the way, but that's kind of just how these things happen. So let's go. We've got our actual third brake light. We've got our 3 S2s, our coax cables for the radio, LBJ harness, mounting hardware for the light, mounting hardware for the S2s, power converter, and gasket. The power converter here is for the Starlink Mini. It could operate on 12 volts, but depending on the load of the vehicle and the power cycle of the Starlink Mini, it may drop below its threshold and cause issues. So they went and threw in this power converter just to kind of eliminate that problem altogether. We got our LBJ wiring harness. I'm not going to go into big detail on this because Keith has tons of information about how to install it. I'll link his instructions in the video if you want further detail. But these two here are going to go for the 2 side, which are in my case are the amber S2 chase lights. And this is for the center white light. You've got this splitter here that allows for a jumper wire to connect into the third brake light, so the center light comes on with your approach lamps and when you open the door and whatnot. Now there wasn't a jumper wire installed, so I just went ahead and created one. This will go from this third output here, and it will tie in to the light harness, which will connect to the vehicle harness. On the other end of the harness, you have this white one is for the center clear light. This is what's gonna tie into the vehicle body harness, so that light will come on when you go into reverse or with the trail turn assist. These two are your power, or your hot side for the 2 side ambers, and your ground for the entire system. This will run into the passenger kick panel and attach to the upfitter switches. Back to the third brake light itself. This is where the Starlink Mini will attach to. There's no hard mounting hardware or anything for the Starlink Mini. It just slides right onto this fitting, and that is enough to keep it on. It is pointing forward, so any wind force or any drag against the satellite dish itself should help keep it secure and tight. Now, they didn't supply a male connector for the Starlink, so what I did is I just took part of the harness that came with the S2s from Baja Design and clipped it. I don't think it's going to be long enough, but what we'll do is we'll just tie into this to add whatever extra length we need to get to the power converter and the upfitter switches. The first thing you're going to do is remove this Allen bolt right here. Watch out for this little nylon washer, and that will allow this to come free. So you can screw in and attach the jumper wire we talked about, and this also makes room for you to secure the S2s. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a screwdriver or an Allen key. You won't be able to get an Allen key in there. I went ahead and took all the faceplates off of my S2s. You're not going to need them for the install. Take your provided gasket, go ahead and drop it down into the hole. And then you're going to want to take the S2 and snake it down in there. I find it's a little easier if you hold the mount this way and slide the light in from underneath. That way it keeps that gasket in place. Next, take the provided hardware for the S2, and it's going to mount from the rear. This is part of the design change that they did, so there wasn't any exposed hardware on the front. And I actually really like it because I had issues with the old GJ Motorsports third brake light stripping them out. There just wasn't a lot there to catch the threads, and either you didn't get them tight enough and it leaked, or you stripped them out. Go ahead and alternate between both sides, tightening until it is nice and tight. As you can see, if you don't remove this, it completely blocks that screw, so there's no way to get it in.
Now we got the lights all mounted and secured to the back, and as you can see on the front, no hardware at all. Super clean. They secure really nice and easy. I think all of the leaking issues are going to be completely gone. All right, so we got our jumper wire installed. I lengthened it a little bit. I was worried it was going to bind some, so we just made it a little bit longer so we wouldn't have an issue. It's all attached up. We're going to leave this piece unscrewed until we get the vehicle harness attached to it. I think it's going to be a little tight. Try to get it in there. So once we get the vehicle harness attached, we'll screw it back down.
So all we're doing here is just go ahead and getting the OEM third brake light removed from the truck.
All right, we got the two screws out. I have them oriented in the same direction. I'm pretty sure camera orientation matters. We're gonna go ahead and pull this out. And drop it in. Not drop it, place it. All right, so we got the camera in, but this plastic piece that slides over and screws in won't clear this screw. So we're gonna pull the screw out and see if we can get it in. All right, just like I thought, pulling this screw out allowed me to get this plastic mounting piece in. These two T8s, I just hand tightened because I was worried about cracking this plastic. Also, when you're pulling the camera out of the third brake light, there is a rubber gasket. You got to give it a little tug to get it out. You're not going to break anything. Just be a nice gentle tug out and then a nice gentle tug back when you're putting in the new way. All right, we're getting the coax cables all hooked up. And unfortunately, we have two different links. One of them is going to be long enough, the other one's not. We're going to just take the short one off, and when we go to reinstall the radio, we'll just swap them out. So this is their new mounting system. You pull this 3M tape off, you run a screw through, and you pull it against it, and it should stick. We're going to go ahead and give this a try. All right, the sunset on me. Absolutely gorgeous sunset. We don't have the shop up and running yet, so we're gonna improvise. So I got all of our wires here that need to be snaked down, got them taped up. I'm gonna snake it through the hole and then catch it on the other side. I also went ahead and installed the gasket, so we'll be all ready to go.
So I wanted to take a second to address how I installed the gasket. If you take a look at the OEM third brake light, the gasket's actually attached to the light itself. I don't know if there's a right way to do it or not. This is how I've always installed it, doing it to the actual cab. It made sense in my head a long time ago, and I've never had any leak. I don't think leaking will be an issue with this brake light in general. SwarfWorks profiled the back of the brake light to match the profile of the rear of the cab. So it seals really nice by itself. But this is just how I choose to do it. If it's wrong, well, it's my truck that's going to get wet. I'm just kidding. So take that information and decide with it how you want to do your install. If you have any input, go ahead and leave a comment below about how you like to do it.
All right, we got everything all connected up except our little friend that came disconnected. We're gonna connect you in a second. Everything is snaked down into the hole and in its respected slot. And we're gonna go ahead and mount the light.
So we're just getting this thing all lined up, getting the wires pushed in so nothing came unplugged, so we could get to mounting the actual third brake light. And here, this is where we're mounting it. This is actually my only complaint, and I'll talk about it later, is this mounting system.
So we ran into a little issue in install. This wire right here, it has to route on that side of this little pocket in the back of the truck. If not, it's gonna run across the front of it, and it's gonna, I think it would mess with the seal or pinch the wires. So unscrewed this, disconnected it, routed it around and back in. It's a little tight. 2 hands is probably the best for this. All right, she's installed, and I got that wire hooked up, so it works right as hell. We are going to call her at night and get back at it in the morning. All right, so we're back at it here. We've got all these wires run through here, up into the headliner, and then it's right about approximately right there where the third brake light's at. Okay, so the Starlink wire harness was short like I thought. It came to about somewhere right here, so we're just gonna make it a little longer. I'm a big fan of these butt connectors. They're heat shrink, they're waterproof, they got built-in solder. They give such a really good clean connection. And I just throw some heat shrink on. All right, so we're all connected. I'm gonna throw a little bit of electrical tape around here, keep the wires together, and then we're gonna snake the rest of the harness through and up to that passenger kick panel. All right, we got the wires all snaked through. All nice and deep that in there, and we're gonna go ahead and throw this back on. All right, so we're working on getting this power converter installed. This is power in from the aux switch, power out to the Starlink. Red is hot, yellow is hot, black is both grounds. Got power wire coming off the aux switch, ground going to a chassis ground, and then we'll have hot and ground coming off of the Starlink.
So here she is, all wired up and running. I didn't cover the actual wiring of the aux switches in the passenger kick panel. It's really straightforward. It wires no differently than anything else running those switches. And there's plenty of content on the internet about doing that. I just didn't feel like it was overly necessary to cover. We did have some issues with the Starlink, and we're going to get to that here in a second. All right, so now the Starlink issues that we had. So we finished the project all on up, get everything all buttoned up, get the battery connected, fire the truck up, flip the upfitter switch for the chase lights. Bam, they light up nice and bright, no issues. We go flip the switch for the Starlink, not a dang thing. And like I said, we were finishing this up right before we went to Colorado, so we didn't have a lot of time to troubleshoot. So we checked butt connectors, we checked grounds, made sure I connected it to the right upfitter switch, not a dang thing. So we hop on the road, and on the way, we stop at a Best Buy to grab another Starlink dish to see if maybe that's the problem. Sure as heck, not working. So we get out to Colorado, and I finally hook a multimeter up, and we're reading 24 volts at the plug. So I'm like, good night, what is wrong? Why is this thing not working? And we try to read resistance to see if we have a grounding issue, and lo and behold, the ground's bad. So wait until we get on home. I pop that third brake light cover off and pull that harness out, take that harness out, and what had happened is that connector, that Delco fitting, it seated fully, but the male side didn't fully seat into the female section. It actually pushed it out a little bit. So the plug was fully connected, and it looked like it was connected, but that female side was pushed out just a little bit. No ground, no power, no worky. So this is what we did next to fix it.
So we got her fixed. We decided to hardwire it and cut out those Delco fittings. And now she's screaming away. All right, we're gonna hop in the truck here. Real quick public service announcement. Lead Nav, if you're reading this, please, 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 please give us CarPlay integration, and I'll show you why. All right, so my plug about Lead Nav CarPlay integration. So if you're running wired CarPlay, you could hop on Wi-Fi. See, we're powered on Wi-Fi. And you could run your off-road apps like Gaia or Onyx Off-Road on your main display unit without having to run an iPad. Unfortunately, Lead Nav doesn't have CarPlay integration, which is a huge bummer, and I think it's a missed out opportunity on their part. So, like I said, if you're listening, please give us CarPlay integration. All right, we got aux switch 4 turned on, which is where the Starlink is wired to, and this is what we're showing right here. And just real quick, if you want to remove the Starlink dish, you just give it a little tap here. slides off, and then it just goes right back on. And there she is. She's all clipped in.
So there's the install video. We're gonna talk about the mounting system real quick, and then I'm gonna leave you with my final thoughts about the overall product and the company itself. So first off, the mounting system. It's my only complaint about it, and I like it, and I think it's so close to being perfect. And this just may be my experience. So here is their mounting solution, right? It's got super sticky. I don't know if it's 3M tape or a different brand, but super sticky tape on the back. You put this on the inside of the cab. You thread a screw through it and you pull it to get this to stick. Um, One of the issues that Paul over at SwarfWorks let me know about having an early model is the holes on the third brake light were a little small, and it made lining this up an issue. Uh, their plan is to drill those holes out a little bigger for subsequent models. Um, I actually didn't have an issue lining it up per se. My issue was getting these to sit inside the groove on the back of the cab. So that panel is stamped and the ends curl in a little bit. And I think there's a little variation from vehicle to vehicle of how big that space is. And I had a really hard time getting this to sit in that groove. And if it doesn't sit flush, when you go to screw in, it's not stuck or adhered properly, and it just pushes away, and you can't grab the actual threads. Um, I think I got about half of them to work right, and then I decided that I was having too much issue, and I was going to just go back to the factory, the OEM mounting system and screws, and that works great. I have no issues whatsoever. I'm going to talk to Paul and let him know my feedback on it. I know I had a really early model and they're refining it. I think this is a killer idea. Um, Maybe there's some slight changes that they can make to help these fit in there a little better. And when they get that, the system's going to be phenomenal. It's so much better than the OEM setup. I just personally had issues with it. But that doesn't change my belief about the product. It's absolutely fantastic, and we're going to talk about that here in a second. Things real quick before we get into final thoughts. One is that jumper wire going from that three-way splitter to the third brake light harness. Talking to Paul, he said that that's something that they're going to include down the line, or they're planning to include down the line. For me, it wasn't that big deal. It's just one wire. The other thing was the the male connector for the Starlink that goes from the third brake light harness to the power boost. They said that's something that they were working on, deciding whether they want to include. He thought that they were going to include it. Even though it ended up becoming an issue for me, that was my fault. That's not their fault. And I personally don't think making that wire was that big of a deal. But I would like to see it included. It just kind of makes it a little bit more simple. But most people who are doing this themselves are going to have the ability to fabricate a simple wire like that. All right. So my overall opinion of the product and the company itself. So the product, I absolutely love it. I think it's fantastic. I love the textured matte finish. I love the mounting system for the S2s. I love the upgraded wiring harness on the actual light. The fact that you don't have to use T-clamps to tap into the OEM vehicle harness. And I love the Starlink integration. I think it's fantastic. The mounting system I already touched about, not a deal breaker, and you may not even have that issue to be honest. But I cannot speak highly enough about this product itself. If they, I hope they roll it out for Gen 2s, and I hope that they extend their line to the Ranger and Bronco Raptors. And that brings me to the company. So I'm not an expert of the transition from GJ to SwarfWorks and how that all went down. I know some people have some reservations about dealing with them because of the fallout from GJ Motorsports. Personally, I was always treated well by JG, and so I can't say anything bad about the company itself. But I can tell you, SwarfWorks, for someone who's never had any dealing with them, man, what a great group of people. Paul is fantastic. I had some questions or some things that I just wasn't fully sure about. And he sat on the phone with me for almost an hour and sent me all kinds of videos and pictures. And he didn't have to do that, right? I had an early model. There wasn't a lot of information out there. So I do really appreciate him sitting down and talking with me. And I would buy, they've got a whole line of products from winches and all kinds of stuff. I would not have a single problem buying anything from those guys. They are just absolutely great people. And I appreciate that because, you spend a lot of money. This thing was like $1,300 or whatever. And you would like to hope that these companies at least care about the customer feedback. And I can say that they do. All right, so that's the video, dude. I hope you guys like what we did here. If you do, give me a subscribe, a like, a cool comment. If you don't like it, leave a negative comment, whatever. Um, we're hoping to do more of these. I'm hoping to get a set of Fox Factory Race Series 3.2s. I would love to do a video on those. We're constantly putting reels out. We're going to work on some full length videos with the Raptor runs that we're doing. I think we're going to hit Texas Raptor Run this year. And then get out west and see some of the guys from Nevada, maybe Arizona, hit up some Moab. It's going to be a fun time, so stick around and see you later, bros.